Reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag might be one of the most anti-American things you can do, as far as when we're talking about the spirit of what America was really formed about. Um, One thing that was added to this pledge later on was by President Eisenhower. One nation under God. He added these words, "One nation under God." So it kind of took away from the original socialistic, fascistic connotation, really, where it started from. It's one thing to support your own country, but this idea was actually born a lot different from what people are thinking today. And conservatives look at this like, oh, pledge allegiance to the flag. You shouldn't pledge allegiance to your flag, whether it's the nation, the state, or anything, for crying out loud. Pledge allegiance to the freedom of all men and women. Okay, that should really be. I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic in which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Where about this came about was really after the war between the states, when the Confederates were forced to take a pledge to the U.S. flag. Francis Bellamy. He's the one that really pushed for this. He was a Baptist preacher, but he was also a socialist Baptist preacher. So we'll go into some of the works on him. Now, actually, this is the way they used to salute the flag. They didn't put their hand over their heart, but later when the Nazis came about in the 1930s, and everybody's criticizing fascism, which I criticize fascism too, but nobody's looking at the American angle here when you're taking a pledge to the state. That's really what you're doing. You're taking a pledge to the state, and we'll look more deeply at what Francis Bellamy really was trying to achieve here. So what's so conservative about the pledge? This is what aggravates me about conservatives. They can't. I mean, the left. I don't know where the hell I stand exactly. It's not even libertarian, but the left is partially right about some of the conservative notions, whereby they're almost like fascist. I mean, God. But I don't know where I stand exactly, but politically, I can't really say I'm 100% conservative the way a lot of conservatives are. That's for sure. But from its inception, the Pledge of Allegiance, right, in 1892, has been a slavish ritual of devotion to the state, wholly inappropriate for a free people. Which I agree. The guy was a Christian Socialist, right, and he was a Baptist minister, and he was thrown out of his ministry because he was pushing sermons, hard-hitting sermons, that Jesus was a socialist, Jesus the socialist, or whatever, whatever. Come on, whatever, man. I think Jesus was a guy that knew how to heal with frequencies, to tell you the truth, and energies. You touch his robe, and you were healed. He was emitting an aura around him, is probably what it was. Jesus the healer. How about that? I'm into that. I'm into that side of him, that's for sure. So his cousin, Francis Bellamy's cousin, was Edward Bellamy, and Francis emulated all his ideals and all this kind of garbage. He was in 1988 a utopian novel author of Looking Backward. Looking Backward describes the future of the United States as a regimented workers' paradise where everybody has equal incomes and men are drafted into the country's industrial army at age 21, serving in jobs assigned to them by the state. Uh-huh. How about that? I mean, you think that's a good thing? I don't think that's a good thing. That's horrible. That's communism, isn't it? After leaving, or Nazism, or whatever, one of the two, take your pick, one's as bad as the other. After leaving the pulpit, Francis Bellamy decides in advance his authoritarian ideas. He pushed him through after he got kicked out of being a minister in a Baptist church. So he pushed his authoritarian ideas through the public schools. He wrote the Pledge of Allegiance for Youth Companion, a popular children's magazine, with the aid of the National Education Association. See, the government, or a quasi-government organization. They got it as part of the National Public School celebration. They got it adopted for Columbus Day, 1892. So that was like 4 years after his cousin wrote this thing about how everybody should be slavish to the state, be assigned jobs, and workers' paradise, communism, Nazism, right? Kind of a hybrid of the two. Bellamy's recommended ritual for honoring the flag had students all but goose-stepping their way through the pledge. Yeah, this is true. At a signal from the principal and the pupils in ranks, hands to the side, face the flag. Right face or left face the flag, order arms. Another signal is given. Every pupil is given the flag, the military salute. Hey, Hitler, flag. That's what they're doing, man. Tell you, that's what they did. So they took away that. They put your hand over the heart instead, right? I pledge my heart to the state. God, I don't want to do that. But see, Eisenhower added under God, so it kind of threw a winger in there, you know? I don't know. Anyway, but before that, they didn't even have that. They just did the Nazi salute, and they said, pledge allegiance to the state. At the words, to my flag, the right hand is extended gracefully, palm upward towards the flag, and remains the gesture until the end of the affirmation, whereupon all hands immediately drop to the side. So that's what they're having all the little kids do. And here you have a whole bunch of little kids doing it. It looks like something out of the Viet Cong, you know? And you wouldn't think this is... Well, the thing is, you know, you think the socialists... It's weird how the socialists are against this, but I don't know. Everybody should be against this, for crying out loud. You need to support not the flag, but the document of free men and women. You know? I pledge allegiance to the Bill of Rights. How about that? I mean, I think that wouldn't be so bad. You know, the ideals of the Bill of Rights, which is basically freedom, guaranteeing, you know, not that the state guarantees our, well, the state's laws are, the state and the government, or the federal government's all supposed to guarantee or help guarantee our government. But in essence, the federal government, the state government, and the county governments screw with your freedom. They do. They're all screwed up. I don't like any of them. Anyway, here you go. A bunch of little kids doing a little Hitler salute to the flag. I mean, that's really what it was. This guy, Francis Bellamy, was a I mean, he was, well, communism was really born well before the war between the states. And actually, if you look at what the North was doing and what was in Lincoln's army, it was loaded with Marxists to the left and right. I mean, not just, well, I should say they were Marxists to the left, but they were all over the place. You know what I mean? They were all over the place in Union Army. So, what we fought for originally in this country was to get away from, you know, we support the crown. We hail to the crown, hail to the chief. Hail, you know, this is the one thing. You know, right now it's taken me a long time to get. You know, I've been flip-flopping back and forth about Trump. But one thing I never liked about the whole thing is like you don't want to just worship this guy Trump. Hey, Trump, Trump, Trump. But right now I'm thinking he's legit. You know, we got so screwed up in this country that he's going to go down fighting. To tell you the truth, man, there's a lot of stuff going on. Of course, you can't mention any of this on YouTube because everything you mention on YouTube practically is advertiser unfriendly, even if you're saying hello to my cat. You know, whatever's going on YouTube today. Hey, we're going to hire 10,000 more people. Yeah, bitching, okay, sorry. Sorry, what's her name? Susan. Susan. Yeah, Susan, you're overdoing it, Susan. Anyway, but... You know, the deal is, this is not right. You know, this is not what the hell the country was formed about. I mean, if we were going to do this, hail to the crown, hail to King George III, well, we would have never had a revolution, okay? I mean, you forget about everything. You know, the Magna Carta, habeas corpus, forget about everything. Well, actually, Abe Lincoln forgot about everything. He was a bad guy. He was a bad guy, too. Oh, but he's our hero. Anyway. Anyway, I'm just going to put this out here real quick because, you know, it's like, you could talk about this for a long time, actually. But, you know, it's weird how the left-wing types don't want to do this, right? But the conservatives are saying to do it. But it was started by a left-winger. It was a left-winger that said, do the pledge because the state is supreme and everybody should pledge their whole heart and life to the state. The state should assign you a job. There should be equal pay for everybody, and everybody's going to be just, you know, communism, right? You know how that works. It doesn't work. Actually, everything's built upon greed. That's what happens. I hate to say it, but that's what the hell happens, man. Anyway, you know, I wouldn't do this to the Confederate flag either. You know, right now I like the Confederate flag because most people don't like it. That makes it more rebel. When it becomes extremely popular and everybody goes, "You better like that Confederate flag," because I'm against even like what do you call those? The Southern Nationalists. How about the Southern Farmers Union? Okay, agriculture. We could grow medicinal herbs. We could grow moonshine. There's stuff for moonshine. Hops, beer. Make our own beer, alcohol, and no regulation with taxes. The harder you work, the more you make. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. You know, that'd be a Southern workers' paradise because we'd all making our own stuff. Anyway, but a lot of people never looked at this thing very deeply, and the conservatives are like, you gotta recite this. I mean, I'd be okay with reciting one of the original 10 Bill of Rights. You do that one week. Then next week you do the second one. Then the next week you do the third one. The next week you do the fourth one. You know what I mean? Like that. That would be good. Because that's for the people. You know? That's the part that the government's supposed to be restricted by. Supposed to be. I mean, I'd have kids do that in school. One week we do the First Amendment. Right, YouTube? First Amendment. First Amendment. Second week, your time. Second Amendment. And have Susan read that First Amendment once in a while, too. Anyway, but I don't like this, This is like, it looks cute. It's a cute looking picture, but if you replace the flag with some other country, you'd be, oh, look at those kids are so brainwashed. You know what I mean? Well, you know what I mean. I wouldn't want kids doing this to Confederate flag. That's beyond the whole concept of what it's supposed to be. You know? Maybe an image of the Bill of Rights. How's that? That would be the best thing, I would think. Anyway, over and out.